Hi everyone, it's Neve here and welcome to the scrapfx YouTube channel. Today we're going to be making a 12 by 12 scrapbook layout called Utopia. So I've started off by this layout and I have cheated somewhat because scrapbooking is not my first love, so to speak. It takes me a little while to work out the layouts. So I've actually sort of pre-cut stuff and worked out a layout in my head. So now I'm just putting it all together. All the pieces of paper that I've got are from old basic grey papers that I've had in my stash for a long time, and they're all based on this sort of sage, red, cream, grey colours. The reason I chose those colours is the photo shoot that I did with my daughter. You see the photo and I chose to put on this scrapbook. Their dresses that I bought had those deep reds and greens within their dresses, so this matched perfectly. But when I actually put the coloured photo on top, I found that it was just all overpowering. So when I turned the photo into black and white, it just popped off the page, but I still had the reminders of the colours in the background. So that's the reason for the palette I've chosen in the background. All I've done is just taken a whole heap of the different patterned papers and cut them into different sizes. Now the photo I'm using is 8 by 10 photo, and it's a lot larger than I usually scrap with. I usually scrap with a 6 by 4, so that was presenting a little bit of a challenge for me as well. So in the background I just mix-matched lots and lots of coloured papers and different sizes of paper. Up the top I've got one of those grey product life cards which said a perfect autumn's day, and that just fitted in really nicely. I've also, when I pre-cut all the papers, once I was happy with the layout, I've actually run them through my Xyron machine, so they've all got the sticky on them. So that's what the plastic is, and the things on the back that I'm peeling off. I find my Xyron machine is fantastic when I'm doing scrapbooking because I can just chuck everything through and make sure it's all stuck down. So with some VersaFine ink in a brown, I'm just stamping over my project life card. I've stuck an extra piece of paper over it because I didn't like the saying on it, but I liked the background, and just to give a journaling spot on my page. And this is one of the scrapfx silhouette designs, one of the Art Deco designs, which I loved, but it was so fun and I was really worried about how I was going to glue it down, and running it through the Xyron was perfect because I was able to get sticky adhesive everywhere, just peel it off and know that it was going to be stuck down really securely on my page. For my photo, I'm just using some double-sided tape. Usually in most projects I use double-sided tape, but when I'm doing something fine like the scrapbooking page in behind, I use my Xyron machine. The reason I've also decided to use that machine for this is when I'm piecing together the bits of paper, I'm a terror because I start from the beginning and work backwards. So of course I've glued things where I shouldn't have, and then I need to re-glue them. So if I stick them all down in order, that helps a lot. So here are the two scrapfx pieces of chipboard that I'm using, and I'm using a thick black embossing enamel to coat them. So the first thing I'm doing though is just pressing my chipboard into some black ink. Now the reason for that is you could just paint it black if you want. If there's any spots when you emboss it that are missed, you've got some black there already, so it kind of blends in. It also gives you a really good way of sort of auditioning the pieces on your page, so to speak, to see if you really like them. So now this is my very well loved Versamark pad, and I'm just pressing it in firmly onto the pad and then dipping it into the powder. And I'm just heating it up with my heat gun. While the powder is still hot, it's still molten, I'm going to press it back in and get a second and third layer. So this is going to build up quite a layer of embossing enamel onto my piece of chipboard so that it's thick enough that it's got a really sort of enamel finish to it. With the tail of the feather there, it just missed a little bit at the edge, so I just dipped the tail back in and filled it in. Now I decided I actually wanted a little bit of colour in this, so what I've done is sprinkled some copper embossing enamel over the top and just heated that over the top. So I've got that sort of sprinkle of colour. Doing exactly the same with this Utopia piece. So again, pressing down with my Versamark so it's really juicy and covers the whole area. Dipping it in, shaking off my excess, and then heating it up. And once again, once it's molten, I will dip it back into the powder and create a few coats. Now I'm going to do something slightly different with this one. And as I'm going along, I sprinkle in the copper, but I wasn't happy with it sort of just sprinkled over the whole area. I wanted to have it a little bit more controlled. So I've actually slowed down the video here so you can see what's happening, which is why it looks like it's taking a lot longer to heat up. So again, just tapping off my excess, heating it up. Now with chipboard pieces like this, so because they're so fine, you could get away with 2 coats. It's totally up to you. If you've got gaps, just sprinkle in some powder onto those bits or dip it in where you think you need it. So I'm pretty happy with what I've got. Going on for another coat, just to make it really glossy. And you can see the more coats you put on, because it's retaining the heat, it actually melts a lot faster. You'll notice I'm also working on a MDF board, covered it in some Glad Bake, and not working on my glass mat. Now I know the glass mat is supposedly heat resistant, but glass gets really hot really quickly, and it means it retains the heat, so you can actually get burnt quite quickly. So just be aware that probably working on something else other than your glass mat's a good idea. So I've sprinkled the copper in, and I try it out on my piece. I'm just wiping off my glass mat because it actually had some condensation underneath from the heat. So the black was just blending in a little bit too much on my photo. So what I decided to do was where the perfect state goes over my photo, I decided to make that all copper. So I've just heated up the perfect state and sprinkled over the copper just in that area. So you've got that 2-tone on your chipboard. It's a really easy way to do it. You could sprinkle it out into your tray and just dip the top half in, particularly for waves or something. If you're doing that, it's a great way to get sort of a beachy feel. So there you can see you've got the different colour perfect state from the Utopia, and I was really happy I did that. So now I'm just using some Connect glue, which is a really fabulous glue that I've just come across. I did order it from America. I haven't yet found it in Australia, but if anyone knows where to get it in Australia, I'd love to know, because it's just brilliant stuff. It comes in this little bottle with a fine applicator, and it's fabulous for gluing down really fine chipboard like this. It also dries clear, but pretty much as soon as I put it down, it had an instant bond on the page and it wasn't going anywhere. So now all I'm doing is my journaling on the page, and I'm just trying to find which pen I want to use. So I was originally going to use a brown pen, but it just blended in a little bit too much, so I ended up just going with standard black and talking about my gorgeous Miss Erin, whose photo I just absolutely adore. She's just got these really deep brown eyes, and she's very intense when she looks at you. So this photo really captured what she's like. So in the journaling, I'm just writing out about a little bit about the day and how this sort of captured a moment in time of her Utopia, her perfect state. Hopefully when she gets into the terrible 2s and the 3-nagers, she'll continue being the gorgeous little possum that she is. I'm sure she will be, but I'll not jump the gun with that one just yet. So once I finish my journaling, then I've just popped the date on, and this is a close-up of it. So it's a great way to use your chipboard shapes from Scrap FX, getting your embossing powders out and having a go and just blending some different colours in it. I hope you enjoyed watching the process of this. Please click below in the description box to find a link to the blog post, which will take you through all the different products used on this page. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye!